Okay, well, it just shows you how fickle our weather can be. I phoned Philip on Friday night. It was just after 8, about 10 past 8, wasn't it, Philip? Yeah. And I said, look, it's completely cloudy in Bangor, Philip. Is there any sense driving all the way down to Delamont? And so it didn't bother. And it was the most glorious night, as you can see from some of Philip's pictures. I have to say, they're fantastic. Never worry about the Geminids. Just to keep Peter happy, because he's doing the talk tonight, the sun has turned up a most spectacular sunspot we've had for some time. It's known as AR 1035, and somebody in Brazil took this fabulous image. I'm going to turn those lights just down a little bit.
The right hand ones on, just those two.
Right. We'll go down a little bit, just to see them at their best. That's not bad. Okay. Yeah, a whole group of, how many was in this group, did you say, Peter? Absolutely very unusual. We're not used to seeing that amount. And here's a photograph Peter actually sent me yesterday or the day before, and you can see the two separate groups there quite well. So the sun is active. In fact, Peter told me this evening that there's a coronal mass ejection headed our way, and fingers and toes crossed, we may even have an aurora on Friday night. Now, I can't remember seeing an aurora for a very long time. The last one I remember was January 2005, so that's a wee while. That's a wee while ago now. So with any luck at all, clear skies and all the rest of it. The skies, as you saw from Philip's photographs, are absolutely superb. December is a superb time of the year. The skies are nice and dark. The moon's out of the way at the moment, and of course it was ample opportunity for Geminids. And more of that in a moment. At the moment, the Milky Way, this is looking north. Milky Way is over here in the west, stretches right across the sky overhead, right down to the east. But lying low above the northern horizon is the Plough. The Plough, of course, is our signpost to Polaris. You can see here Polaris. And Polaris is in the same position when you go out every night, so it won't move at all. But you'll notice the constellations do move round the Plough, rising in the west and the eastern part of the sky, and traversing the sky and setting in the west, and getting their highest point in the south. At the minute, Cassiopeia is almost overhead for us, so when Cassiopeia is up high, the Plough's down low. Moving to the southern sky, we've got a lovely clutch of winter constellations there. These funny marks are because this is last year's map. I had to sort of obliterate some of the stuff that was on it. But at the moment, Gemini's well up in the eastern part of the sky. And of course, Gemini was the radiant from where the Geminid meteors were coming. And one of the clear signs of winter is the little seven sisters or Pleiades. Very obvious when you go out in the evening. And of course, they're part of the constellation of Taurus. Taurus with its red eye, Aldebaran. And you can contrast that at the moment. Just slightly below it is another red star, very red star, Betelgeuse. But one of the brightest, one of the stars, I nearly said, of the winter sky, one of the attractions of the winter sky is the brightest star in the sky, Sirius. Not the pole star, easily located by following the belt stars down to the horizon. So, just so as you know not to go the other way, if you follow it down to the horizon, you can't miss Sirius. Sirius is a very interesting star in its own right. It's the brightest star in the whole sky. It's twice as bright as the next brightest star, which is the star Canopus. It's bright for two reasons. First of all, it's pretty nearby. It's only about 8.5 light years away, which I know is pretty distant, but it's still pretty close. But it's also a very bright star. It's a type A star, which is it's about 25 times as luminous as our sun, so it's a fairly brilliant star. Of course, this is the Sirius pair. It's a system, and the brighter one, Sirius A, and here you can see a Hubble Space Telescope of Sirius B. Sirius B, a white dwarf, the second white dwarf to be discovered. The white dwarf, of course, is the eventual fate of our own sun. Once it goes through the red giant phase, lives its life, and ends up as a white dwarf. And that's what's happened to that wee fella. And very hard to see, very, very difficult to see, because Sirius A is incredibly bright, and the glare from Sirius A actually makes it very, very difficult to see the little pup next door to it. Sirius, the dog star, part of the constellation of Canis Major, the large dog, and very much associated with the Egyptian astrology, very associated with what's called the heliacal rising of Sirius. and that of course signified that the Nile was about to flood, a very important milestone in Egyptian year, in the Egyptian year. Very good time to see galaxies. M31, one of the most famous objects in the whole night sky, M31, the great galaxy in Andromeda. Again, a little signpost to it. Once you locate Cassiopeia, just use the V of Cassiopeia and it'll take you on a line down this direction, which is roughly halfway. You can actually see it with the naked eye, and I'm sure you guys were able to see it on Friday night. No problem. Well done. No problem. The other galaxy in this picture is a wee bit of a challenge, I have to say. I don't know whether anybody even saw it in binoculars or not on Friday night, despite the good skies. M33 is known as the Pinwheel Galaxy. Beautiful images of M33 on all the books, but it is very, very difficult to see. Despite having a size about 4 times the size of the full moon, it's very, very, very low surface brightness. Very difficult to find. But it's worth hunting for. Just a little thing I came across through the week there. You may remember some time ago, Chris Lintott was over talking to us, and he was telling us about one of his very successful projects, the Galaxy Zoo. Now, anyone who has a computer, a laptop computer, can join in this experiment. And what you're trying to do is classify the galaxies. And so far they've done about 1 million. And they've actually discovered a complete new class of galaxy called the little green pea galaxies. And of the 1 million, there's roughly, I think they said there was about 200 of these have been found. So that's a very small number of a very peculiar class of galaxy. So there's a challenge. You could discover, just by sitting at your laptop, you could discover a new class of galaxy just by participating in the Galaxy Zoo. Okay, just turning to the planets. Uranus is still there. It's well past opposition now, but it's still very easy to see. If you can see the little circlet of Pisces, it makes a nice little triangle, and I was looking at it the other night through one of the breaks in the cloud. Very easy to see. Also in the evening sky, quite close to Jupiter, you can see the other gas giant, Neptune. Neptune has moved Jupiter's moved quite a distance in relation to Neptune, but it's still relatively easy to find in the sky using Jupiter as a signpost. And you will be able to see Neptune, although it's quite faint in 10 by 50 binoculars, but it's easy to find in the southwestern part of the sky. Geminids, we've heard mention of. It seems now that the Geminids are certainly, well, perhaps our most productive shower. I spent about an hour and a half, took 130 photographs, and I didn't get any either, I'm afraid. I always just seem to see one and point the camera in that direction, which doesn't work. You know, you have to have the camera pointed with the shutter open first, I'm afraid. But there were plenty of nice bright ones. I don't think they were quite as spectacular as the Perseids are, but bright and abundant seemed to be the answer. However, some people were very lucky, and not only did they get a nice Geminid display, but they also got a nice auroral display. So this was one taken from Norway, and an exceptionally nice Geminid there as well. This is a photograph taken with one of the meteor cameras of a very bright Perseid. I think it was taken from Croatia, but I'm told tonight that Robert Cobain has one of these cameras fitted in his house in Bangor, and he's managed to catch a couple of super Geminid fireballs as well. However, I think they were all dwarfed by this fella. This was a bit of comet fighting, and you can see here it produced an amazing fireball indeed. And this was on Space Weather today, and it's reportedly an absolutely stunning fireball. Not only that, but he was lucky enough to catch it on film as well. Okay, just to finish off the year in good style, on the 31st of December, we have a nice lunar eclipse. Well, we have a lunar eclipse. It's not particularly spectacular. For beginners who aren't terribly sure of the geometry, we've got the sun over here, we've got the Earth. Now, the Earth always casts a shadow. It's not just casting a shadow during the eclipse. It always casts a shadow way out into space, a nice dark region. And if the geometry is correct, the moon will actually pass into the shadow. 2 parts of the shadow, this bit here called the penumbra, this bit here called the umbra. And in a full lunar eclipse, the moon will pass right into the umbra, and it will go this beautiful copper red colour. Unfortunately, we're not going to get that on the 31st of December. We're going to get the very, very tiny bit of it here over on the right hand side. But nevertheless, it's worth looking out for. The whole eclipse starts at a very sociable hour of about 5 o'clock and runs right through to about 9 o'clock. But in between, around about 25 past 7, it'll be at its maximum. And you might be able to detect, if skies are clear, the nice little orangey bit here in the bottom right hand corner. That just makes it a little bit clearer. If you're looking at it face on, you can see the moon just dips into the umbral part of the eclipse and no more. But anyway, it's a fitting end to the year, and yeah, you can wear it between the fireworks. Okay, thanks very much.